So a topic I don't really hear a lot of investors talk about is permitting and plans and doing things to code when you're renovating properties or flipping properties or fixing and flipping. It's very common to do it without permits, which is fine. On the odd chance that you get caught or the odd chance that you want to do it with permits or something happens that you have to, I'll kind of give you my rundown after some experience with it. I'm not a complete pro or expert about it, but I have had my fair share of permitting and things. The reason for this video is we've been trying to do this pool with permits, and this is like the 20-something inspection done. A lot of them pass and some of them fail for stupid things, and I just wanted me to bring up the topic about permitting and plans and stuff because not a lot of people talk about it. But the reality is when you're flipping properties, you're buying houses, there is a chance, if you buy enough houses, there is going to be a house or some houses that you're going to have to put plans and permits for, to either do a roof, to do the interior remodeling, windows and doors, like all sorts of things, plumbing, electrical, etc. I want to go over a little bit of like what the process is like and what to look out for, and maybe you can avoid some mistakes that I've made in the past. But basically, if something happens, right, you buy this property and you're all excited and all of a sudden you have to pull permits for whatever reason. Let's say you get a violation, let's say somebody tells on you, let's say you just say, I want to do this house with permits. Well, now you have to understand that the first step is you got to find an architect and engineer. A lot of them can be combined, or most architects have an engineer in their team that sign off on certain things. But the reason you need that is because there's city codes, right? So right now we're in the city of Miami. There is a code for the properties here. Why is there a code? Well, it's dependent on the geography of the property. It's dependent on the surroundings. For example, in Miami, our natural disasters are hurricanes. So the city code is geared towards building houses or building buildings that can withstand a lot of rain and hurricanes. Because if there's no code, let's say we eliminate the code enforcement department. If we eliminate that, then it's a Wild West. People are just building houses that make no sense and could be knocked down when there's families living in it, things like that. So the code exists for a reason, so that there's houses that are being built correctly as per the geography. Now, if you go to like the Midwest, places where there's no hurricanes or like no tornadoes and things like that, there's a lot of houses that are built out of wood because the temperature and the weather, you don't need concrete construction to have good houses there. But in Miami or South Florida, concrete construction is preferred because if a hurricane comes and a house is made out of wood or a house is made out of concrete, which one do you think is gonna last longer, right? So the code enforcement exists for that reason. And when you're going to make remodels or you're going to build something from scratch or something new, you have to go to an architect that is familiar with the city that you're at to build you the plans to code so that you can build the property correctly so that it can last long and it won't hurt or damage people that are going to live in there, whether it's you or maybe you're renting it or if you're flipping it. So that's the reason for the code. So I actually agree with that. I think every place should have a code enforcement department, which it does. It's really, really important. Now, I do think some cities take it overboard. Obviously, they're a business, so they want to make money. Every time you submit plans, you have to pay for permits. That's how they make a profit. So the more headache they give you, the more money you pay them, the more profitable they are, the more jobs they get to keep, and the more they get to grow as a city. So it is kind of like incentivized a little poorly, I think, for the consumer. For like me, for example, like I'm doing things the right way, right? Like I'm doing this pool with permits. But now they've given me the hardest time in the world. They made me do 20-something inspections here. I've done everything perfectly and they still keep failing me. So what's my incentive to do it with permits next time? Very little, right? Like I don't want to go through this again. I feel like that process could be a little bit better, but whatever, that's not for me to decide. I just kind of going over like my experience with it. But once you get that architect, that engineer to draw the things to code, now you send it to the city. You could either, drive in your car, take the papers. Nowadays, you could just submit it online into a portal. And then the city will start reviewing your plans and say, hey, this is good, this is good, this is not good. You got to change this wall, got to move it here. Then your architect changes that, submits it again, and then they make some changes, submit it until you get the final green light. Boom, once you get the green light, now you can pull the permits to start building, to start like the construction. So once you pull those permits, you start the construction, start doing the work. And as you go, you get inspections, and you go a step of the way, they'll guide you, or the right architect or contractor will guide you. Once you get to that point, then you can pass final inspections and the house is done. So that's a very like simplified version of it. Now, some of the mistakes I've made with this is hiring the wrong architect. That is the worst, because the way that the city works is if an architect draws plans and submits it to the city, now you're working with this architect that's working with the city. And if this architect sucks, or he's not doing their job, or she's not doing their job, and they're just not working well, now you got to change architects. But if you change architects, you need him to sign a letter sometimes, or you need a letter signed to remove this architect and go to this one. But now this one has got to do the plans from scratch because this architect is not going to use this architect's plans. People don't like to do that. People don't like to finish each other's work. They like to do their own work. You know, that's just kind of how it works. So choosing the wrong architect has been a huge mistake. Choosing the wrong contractors has been a huge mistake. Contractors help you pull permits. They help you with the work. They help you understand what are the right steps to take, what permits to pull first. And then we have a permit runner. But before, I used to try to do all that by myself, and it's a huge mistake. Get a permit runner. A permit runner is someone who they dedicate their time, it's like their career. They know how to work with cities. They know how to go and submit permits. They know how to do the paperwork correctly. They know what the process is so they can help it go smoother. A lot of times good permit runners have connections in the city so that they can help you make your process faster and smoother. So basically not having a permit runner was a big mistake. So I always get a permit runner, even if I barely use them. And honestly, a lot of times they're pretty affordable. I would say they're like $1,000 for a good permit runner, more than $1,000 if it's a huge project, right? For a couple $100, it's a really good investment because they're gonna help you save a lot of time. Those are some of the mistakes I've made is that. Never talk back to inspectors. It's like a cop. Like they're trying to do their job, so you need to respect them. A lot of times they're dicks. A lot of times they're a little bit too intense or too strict on every little detail. But if you talk back to them or you make them feel bad, they're just gonna make your problem worse. So, you know, even though I broke my rule today, swallow your pride when you get a, inspector. Tell them they're right. Tell them, okay, sir, ma'am, I completely understand. What do you need from me? Just be nice because you don't want them to be making your problem worse. That is a mistake I made today. Don't make that yourself. So, and those are a few of the things when it comes to that. It's a very lengthy and process. But I think that everyone, if you're actually a wholesaler, if you're fixing and flipping, if you're buying and renting, you have to know about this process because it's going to happen. If you're in the game long enough, 100% chance is going to happen. So it's better that you know a little bit, and this is kind of like a little tutorial or a little guide of how it works in a broad perspective. But let me know what you guys think in the comments about the permitting process. Have you gone through one of these horror stories? I know me and a lot of investors, we always talk about this because it's kind of annoying, but I'm just curious if you've ever been through one. I want to hear about it. I like to read the comments and all that. If there's any videos you want me to make, feel free to put it below. Or thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.